In this video, we'll have a look at explicit intents. So I'm going to start off this video with a new project, and I'm going to call this explicit intents. And for me, I'm going to call it video. All right, so you can leave the rest as it is. We're going to use Android 4.4, which is fine. And we're going to go into the empty activity, and we're going to say finish. All right, the application is done syncing. And we can now go into the main activities XML file. So if you have still have some problems with this layout not appearing, so when you drag in components and it's not appearing there, one workaround that we found was to go into the values folder and go into styles XML and just add the base dot to your strings XML or your styles XML file to the parent theme there. So it's base.theme. So for me on the Mac, I don't have that problem at all. So I will not include it there, but you can include that in your styles XML. Right, so I'm going to go into the text tab at the bottom. I'm going to remove this part and say this should be a linear layout. I'm going to change the orientation to vertical. And then I'm going to remove this text view. Now, I'm not going to take too much time into the layouts for this video because we just want to see how intents work. So what I want to do here is to start off with an edit text, and I'm going to use a plain edit text that I'm going to drag into the screen. After that, I will have two buttons. So I'm going to go to the first item there, which is the edit text, or let's just select all of them by holding down your shift button. I'm going to choose the layout margin on the left for all of them 20, on the right 20 as well, and then maybe at the top let's make it 10. Okay, so there's the components. We'll have a text view right at the bottom. Right after that, we'll have the text view. And on that text view, let's set the same thing. I'm going to have left 20, right 20, maybe top 10 as well. Okay, so these are the components that we're going to have on the screen. For that one, I'm going to call it ET name. So we're going to ask the user there to enter his or her name. We're going to remove the text property totally, go down to the hint, and we're going to give a hint something like, please enter your name. If you do not type, or you should not type enter there. So I'm going to say, please enter your name. Escape key takes away the autocomplete. Okay, so it's please enter your name. We're going to go to the gravity property and say center horizontal. So now it's nicely centered. Let's click on the two buttons. For the two buttons, I'm going to set the background property there to colors. Just start typing color there, and I'm going to choose the color primary. Now, if I go down, I'm going to set the text style to bold. I'm going to set the text color to a hash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Fs. And then we've got the white color for the text. Now on this button, the text for that button, I'm going to set the button's text as activity 2. I'm going to set this text there as activity 3. And then the text view is where we will display some results later on. So I'm going to call this one TV results. So the ID should be TV results. The ID for this button, let's call it BTN Act 3. And for that one, we'll say BTN Act 2 for activity 2. This one is ET name. The components on this screen is now basically done. Let's set them up in the main activity quickly. So we've got one edit text there, and we called it ET name. We had two buttons, BTN activity 2 and BTN activity 3. Then we also have one text view there. So I'm going to say text view TV results. So those are the four components on the screen, and we've linked them up or just declared variables for them. Let's link them up quickly. So etName equals find the view by its ID, r.id.etName. We will do the same for the buttons. BTN Act 2 equals also find the view by its ID, BTN Act 2. Then also BTN activity 3 equals find the view by its ID, r.id.btn activity 3. Then for TV results, the same thing. It's find the view by its ID, r.id.tv results. Now let's set up the two buttons quickly. So it's going to be BTN activity 2.set on click listener new on, and just select that interface there from the list. And then we're going to go to BTN activity 3.set on click listener new on click listener, and there we go. So we've got all the components set up in coding and we're ready to go. So we'll come back to this activity now again. What I want to do now is to create two new activities, which will be activity 2 and activity 3. So that when we click on activity 2, it takes us directly to activity 2. When we click on activity 3, it should take us directly to activity 3. So let's start with activity 2 quickly. So in or on your Java folder, if you go into your package, you can see there's your package. You're going to right click on your package and you're going to say new activity, empty activity. So this creates a new activity again. So you can see it's basically the same as the first screen that we got when we created a new project there to also create our main activity. So I'm going to call this one activity 2 and we can leave it as generate the layout file and the rest should be fine. I'm going to say finish. Right, so as soon as your activity is done building at the bottom, we're going to right click again, say new activity again, and we're going to create another empty activity and we're going to call this one activity 3 and just say finish. So now one place that we've also we've also added new files, you'll see in the layout folder, there's now 2 extra XML files, and in your project folder, there's 2 extra Java files. Also in your manifest, you will see that we had one activity tag, this big one, that indicated this is the main activity, it's the main activity, and it's the activity that will launch. Also, we've added now 2 more lines for activities, which will be activity 2 and activity 3. So it will also be included inside of your manifest file. Right, so let's close down the manifest just for information that it will also be included there. Right, so we are at the main activity. I'm going to close down the main activities files quickly, as well as the Java files for those two. And let's just set up the coding part or the layout part quickly first. And if your layout is not refreshed, you can just force refresh your layout there. And also activity 3, I need to force. Okay, that's fine. Right, so these two are fine now. Right, so on activity 2, what we want to do is to go into the text tab again, and I'm going to change this now to a linear layout again. And you can see it's basically exactly the same as we did with the main activity. So under the design tab, everything looks the same. It's just a different activity now. So this is a new screen that the user will see if we activate this activity. But the way you design is exactly the same way. Okay, so what we want to do here is to just drag in one text view. And what we can do is to go to the bottom and set the style of that text view to bold. And let's maybe make the size an 18. Okay, and then let's go to the top. We'll set a margin on the left, 20, on the right, 20. Move it a bit from the top, let's say 20 as well. And then maybe we can also set the gravity property to be center horizontal. So basically what we want to do here is to welcome the user to this new activity. So let's do the text there and say welcome to activity 2, just to see that we can arrive at this second activity. Also what we'll do is we'll send some data to this activity, which means we want to be able to set the text on this activity. So I'm going to say TV welcome. Now let's just open up activity 2 and set up that one component, which is just a text view, and it's going to be TV welcome. Let's go into coding, set it up, TV welcome equals find the view by its ID, r.id.TV welcome, and then we are all set up for activity 2. So this one, very simple, just showing one text view. Let's go to activity 3 quickly, into the text tab. I'm going to remove that, make it a linear layout, set the orientation to be vertical. Right, now we can design again. Right, so here we're going to show the user. Let's go to text and we show the user an edit text there. And what we're going to ask the user there is to please enter his surname this time. And then we'll have a button directly underneath that to submit his surname. So we're going to call this one eat his surname. And we're going to call the button btn submit. Now on both of them, just hold down the shift key, select both of them. I'm going to set the left margin to 20. The right margin to 20 and the top margins to 10. Right, now on this one, on the edit text, let's remove the text property totally, go down to the hint property, and we'll say, please enter your surname. Then also let's go to the gravity property and set it to center horizontal. Then go and click on your button. On the button, let's go down to the bottom. We set the text style to bold. We can set the color to a hash 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 Fs, and that's the text color. Go down or go up to your background property. Set the color there to color primary. Right, and then the text on the button is this one there on the text property, and let's call it submit. Right, so this layout should be fine. That's ET surname. This one is BTN submit. Both done. Let's go to activity 3 now and set up those two components. So we've got one edit text and we call it ET surname. We also have one button there and we call that button BTN submit. Now let's set them up quickly. ET surname equals find the view by its ID r.id.et surname. Same for the button, BTN submit equals find the view by its ID r.id.btn submit. And then we can set up the on-click listener. So I'm going to say set on-click listener, new on-click listener, and everything for this activity is then ready to go. Right, so in all of our activities now, let's open up the main activity also. What basically will happen is we'll ask the user, please enter your name. If he clicks on activity 2, we will take him to activity 2 and we'll say welcome, or John, welcome to activity 2, whatever he typed on the first activity. Then we're going to close this one. We can use the back button to go back to the main activity, and then we'll go to activity 3. On activity 3, we'll ask the user to enter his surname, click on submit. We close this activity encoding. It goes back to the main activity, and we'll set the text on that one on TV results. Let's just change the text there on this TV results to data from activity 3 will be displayed here. Something like that. Data from activity 3 will be displayed here. Now just remember all of these yellow warnings that we get on our layout files. You can see there's a lot of yellow warnings there that they say we are hard coding the text, and the text should actually go into the strings resources file. So what we'll do is on every one of our activities where we've got the XML layout file, you're going to go to text and you go down, you see there's the warnings in yellow. So I'm going to click on it, use Alt Enter, choose extract string resource, and then it gives you a name and the value for it. And you can see the resource name must be all lowercase, and you may use the underscore. So I'm going to say OK, and then there's no more problem for that one. So where will I find the text for the hint? It will be in the strings XML with the name, please enter your name. We'll see that now. Alt Enter for that one, extract string resource, say OK. It's in the strings XML. Same for activity 3, Alt Enter and extract. Same for this one, Alt Enter and extract. So now basically if we go back to design, you will not see those yellow errors anymore because they are all now in the strings XML file. Let's do the same for activity 2. Go into text, the text on that one, Alt Enter, extract it, say OK. Also for activity 3, go into text, click on it, Alt Enter, extract. Same for submit, Alt Enter and extract. So if you open up your strings XML, you'll see that there's a lot of values that we added now, and it's all those that we used the Alt Enter on them. So later on, we can use this file to do a translation to another language, and that's why we need to use the strings XML. Right, so that is it for this video. On the next video, we'll do the coding behind the scenes and see how intents work in order for us to move between two activities and send data back and forth.